Americans no longer believe in the idea of an American dream, and this will fundamentally reshape our economy in the years to come. A recent poll came out in the Wall Street Journal that basically said that 25% of Americans believe that they have a good chance of improving their standard of living. And that is the lowest point since this poll started asking this survey back in 1987. And more than 70% believe that the American dream no longer holds true. And I want to talk a little bit about what this does to our brains psychologically when the implicit contract in America, which is that if you work hard, you will become financially successful. What happens when that breaks down, and how will that reshape how all of us think about our money? So I've written about this before extensively in my newsletter, but there's kind of two big behaviors that come out of the breakdown of the American dream, which is financial nihilism and gambling. So the first is essentially if you believe that you cannot get ahead no matter how hard you work, you might just say, what's the point of doing any sort of long-term wealth building altogether? And, you kind of pull out of the market, or you just kind of YOLO spend on experiences and things because you feel like there's no point. And then that feeds into the second piece, which is the kind of rise of what I call the gambling economy or the grifting economy, where people turn to these very high risk, potentially high reward activities, these get rich quick schemes as a way to build wealth because they think that's the only path to prosperity. And, we see this with the rise of day trading, crypto gambling, people pursuing careers online, like selling courses and stuff, just grifting essentially. And that is because they feel like the contract of working for many, many years is not, adequate anymore. So they feel like they're forced into these categories. And all of this together will just lead to a weaker, less robust economy. And so all this is to say is when an entire society loses faith in this connection between effort and reward, this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If no one believes the system works, then nobody participates in behaviors that make it work. And I'm not saying that capitalism was perfect by any means before, but I think we are seeing a very, very quick erosion of what capitalism was before, and in its place will lead to scams, gambling, grifting, etc. And that's why I think it's so important to pay attention to polls like this instead of just looking at pure economic data, because a lot of times how people feel about the economy is a leading indicator for how they behave with the economy.